Okay, everyone, let's get started. My name is Sandy Chassell, and today's Insurance WebEx program is Increase Sales with 11 Tips to Improve Your Business by Improving Your Focus. And the reason I thought of this program is I've been working with financial advisors for about 20 years now, and one of the things that's changed over time is whereas people used to contact me constantly, can you help me with prospecting? A lot of them are talking to me now about helping them with focus and helping them with time management. So I thought this would be a great program to help those of you who are attending just do way better when it comes to your time management and your focus. So let's get started. What would your life be like if you were totally focused on what you needed to get done to reach the income and life goals that you've set for yourself? What would your life be like if you could expect a steady inflow of business all year round and had systems that minimized distractions and kept the paperwork flowing all the time? And what would it be like if you could finally have the practice that you dream about, the practice that you want? All of that requires one thing, and that is intensely focused action. But let's face it, intensely focused action is difficult. And tell me if this sounds like you. You've got marketing and prospecting to do. You're selling and enrolling clients. You're delivering products and services. You have your own financial situations to worry about. You have client relationships. If you have a staff, you have staff relationships. There's administration and underwriting. And if you're FINRA licensed, there's compliance. And then you add to that, what if you get sick for a few days? And what if you want to take a vacation for a couple of weeks? And what if you want to spend time reading the Bible or meditating or exercising or just spend time with your family? And then you put on top of that the daily phone calls and emergencies and emails and mail and problems and IT problems. And you wonder, like, does this sound like you? I mean, does this resonate with any of you that are on this call? Yeah, I see. Yeah, of course. And you wonder, how can you possibly focus and take intensely focused action on anything with all of that going on? And so you can't focus on the work that makes you money. And what we do to compensate for it is we work longer hours with no better results and maybe even disappointing results. We make more mistakes. Things slip through the cracks. People slip through the cracks. There's client attrition. Clients leave you. You don't make as much money as you could be making. You miss opportunities. You have nights where you're tossing and turning because you know you forgot something. You're frustrated. You're stuck. You're burnt out. You're overwhelmed. And there's no way under those circumstances you're going to take intensely focused action on anything. And most of us try to compensate. So we have all these things that we have to think about, and we keep them all in our head. And we try to do more each day than is humanly possible. And we're doing whatever catches our attention rather than having a clear plan and priorities for what needs to be done. And we're struggling to stay focused in an environment of interruptions and distractions. And the worst part of it is we don't have any system to make it better tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be the same as today was. Does that sound like any of you? Yeah, I'm sure that it does. But here's the great news. There's hundreds of simple things that you can do to improve your focus. And today, we're going to tackle 11 of them. Let me just tell you how I know what I know, why I'm doing this, and give you a feel for who I am. I am a practice development coach, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. I've been working with producers and advisors for nearly 20 years. I've been the National Sales Training Director of a broker-dealer and also life insurance company. I've been a practice development director. I'm an insurance WebEx preferred mentor. I'm an MDRT approved coach. I've contributed to online publications for years. And I've written 2 books, and I'm licensed the way you are. But what I really want you to know is that I'm a human being like you, and I've gone through everything you've gone through. Most of the things we're going to be talking about are things that I had to learn in my various practices. And so it's important for you to know that I know where you are because I've been there. I've been bankrupt. I've survived metastatic cancer 3 times. I have 2 wonderful grandchildren. Human being like the rest of you, and my experience, along with the experience of clients I've been working with for 20 years, is what I'm basing what we're going to do here today on. So my work as a practice development coach is to get breakthroughs for financial and insurance professionals who have already had some success, but they're still not where they want to be. They still don't. They have big dreams, and those dreams aren't being met. They have more that they want to accomplish, and they seem to not be able to do the things that they used to do, don't work to get them to move ahead. And maybe it's they want better prospecting and marketing methods. Maybe they want to have better sales conversations, better time management. Maybe they just want better clients. Maybe they want better systems. There are 9 areas of your practice that should be systemized. And if they're not, that's something that you might want to pay attention to, but certainly people who've consulted me want to pay attention to. Maybe they want a better functioning team or better team members. Maybe they just want to have more fun or get a better idea of how to get where they want to go. Now, everything I do, you can do on your own. And I like to say that nobody needs a coach. You hire a coach because you want to get there faster. You want to struggle less. You want to have more confidence in the day-to-day growth, even when things aren't going exactly the way you want them to go. And that is all something that a coach will do for you. So in today's program, I'm going to promise you 3 things. We're going to talk about the 11 strategies to help you get hyper-focused. I'm going to offer you an opportunity to talk with me, and I guess that should say me, about your business. And I'm going to answer any questions that you have about what we talk about or about how it would be to have that consultation with me. Those are the things that we're going to cover. Now, you don't have to write these down because I'm going to go through them one-to-one, so don't worry about scribbling it all out right now. The first thing we're going to talk about is what it means to have a crystal clear goal and be 100% committed to that goal. The second is distractions are inevitable, they are, but how to bring yourself back. The third is how to prioritize so you're doing the right work. The fourth is learning how to say no to things. And the fifth is to schedule everything and to block your time. The sixth is to manage inflows. 7 is have a system for dealing with interruptions. 8 is to delegate. 9 is something I call under-promise and over-delivering. We'll talk about that. And 10 is having systems for everything. 11 is invest in the help that you need. All of these things, when you do any of them, you're going to find that you're more focused, have more time to do things, and happier about your practice. So let's just get right into it. Number 1 is to have a crystal clear goal and be 100% committed to it. Now, when we talk about a goal, we're talking about what do you want to happen by the end of this year? And I created this little acronym. Well, I didn't create it, but I stole this little acronym that says follow one course until successful. What is the thing that you most want to happen? Now, maybe it's, I want to make 100,000. I want to make 500,000. Maybe there's a number. Maybe it's a number of apps. And, I want to do 100 apps this year or 200 apps this year. Maybe it's just I want to help 100 people. Whatever it is, the question for you is, are you fully committed to it? Now, I have a coach who listened to me and I talked with him and he said, you're suffering from attention deficit disorder. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you're just not 100% committed to what you say you want to do. And I said to him, well, yes, I am. I'm 100% committed. So It turns out that most of us really aren't. And what I'd like to do is play a little game with you to see if you are 100% committed to your goal. So here's the concept of it. Imagine that I'm offering you $100,000 to take that very clear goal that you have for December 31st of this year and back it into October 1st. Reach that goal by October 1st, I'll give you $100,000. How many of you would say yes to that? Yeah, I'm in. I'll play that game. Okay, I see a lot of you want to do that. So here's the question. What are you going to do differently so that you can reach that goal in October, on the 1st of October, rather than on December 31st? Now, you can write it down. You can also put it up on the screen, and we'll take a look at it. Or you can just think about it. And while you're thinking about it, let me tell you what usually happens. People say, well, I'd make a lot more phone calls, Sandy. I'd get better organized. I'd do more events. I'd do more networking. I would just be on the phone all the time. All these things that they tell me. And here's the problem with that. The problem is, why does it take the $100,000 bonus to make that happen? If you're 100% committed, you would do that to reach the December goal. And most of us we think we're 100% committed. We're certainly 100% committed to being in this field, but we're not 100% committed to the goal. And if you want to have total focus and you want to not be distracted, you have to be 100% committed to the goal. Steve Chandler, who has worked with me as my coach and is the author of 30 some odd books, including The Time Warrior, writes that if you're 100% committed, you have no time management problem. Everything you do is focused on what you've committed to accomplish. I stole that and changed it a little to say, if you're 100% committed, you have no focus problem because everything you do is focused on what you've committed to accomplish. So you want to be 100% committed to a very specific goal, and that will help you not be distracted. And that's the first one of the tips. But let's face it, distractions are inevitable. Nobody's going to never be distracted. We get distracted. And one of the things that happens while you're doing something that you know isn't the thing that you're supposed to be doing is that you realize it at some point. Hey, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And you realize it, but you continue doing it. That's what most of us do. And so you need to have a reminder that if you go off track, which is inevitable, that you're going to come back. And so in that moment where you realize I'm being distracted, you need something that says this. And I have a poster that says this. And by the way, if you'd like a copy of this poster, just write to sandywillhelp@gmail.com and I'll send you a copy of this poster. It says, stop. Is what I'm doing right now the best thing I can be doing to reach my goal? If not, what is? And that makes me go back and do it again. So it's you go back and do the thing that I'm supposed to do. So it's very simple, but it's very powerful once you start doing it. Get distracted, but when you realize you are, get back to what you're supposed to be doing. So what is it that you're supposed to be doing? We're going to spend some time on prioritizing because I see 6 steps to really prioritizing. And the first is really list everything that you have to do. I look at lists as there's a project, like I'm going to do a seminar on June 3rd, and that project has multiple tasks. I've got to select the venue, I've got to sign the contract, I've got to work on the slides, I've got to talk to vendors if I'm going to have, try to get money from vendors to help me do the workshop, put on the workshop. All of those things are tasks. They don't all have to be done at once. But take every task you can possibly imagine for every project you're possibly doing and list it. And two things will happen. One is you'll see that it's not infinite. I mean, we were all overwhelmed and we've got too many things to do, but guess what? It's not infinite. It may be 15 pages long, but there's going to be an end to it. And then you're going to think of something else and you're going to add it, and you're going to finish something and you're going to cross it off. But now you have a complete list. The second thing that happens is all the little things you did to remind yourself, like the piles of files on your desk and the paper notes that you've made for yourself and the sticky notes that you made for yourself, can all go away, because now you have a list of everything that has to be done. You're going to sleep better because now you have a list of everything that has to be done. And you may not do it in a timely way, but you know that everything is covered. Everything is on the list. Now, use Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants. I'm going to explain how to do this, where you go through that list and assign a number to each item. And the number 1 goes to everything that's important and urgent. That is the things that are going to make you money, and the things that if you don't do, you're going to lose money. Those are the things that you want to address with a number 1. So go down that list and assign a number 1 to the things that are important and urgent. Then look at the things that are important, but they don't have to be done today. They don't have to be done right now. They don't have to be done this week. They're important, but they're not urgent. And give those a 2. Now, things like planning, it's important, but it's not urgent. Reading up on policies, it's important, but it's not urgent. Things like something that's due in 2 weeks, something that's due next week, something that probably isn't due for a month, but you don't want to forget it. You're going to put a 2 next to those. Next to there's a certain category, and there are not a lot of things that are going to fall into this category. Things that are urgent, but they're not really important. I mean, if my library card is expiring tomorrow, I need to take care of it, but I'm not going to lose any money. I'm not going to make any money. It's something that I'll get to when I get to it. So that's urgent, but not important. And finally, there are all those things that are on the list that are not really urgent, they're not important, and you're probably never going to do. So on my list would be learning Spanish, taking guitar lessons. Those are things that I would put on my list that probably aren't that important. And so I want to give those a 4. So the next thing you want to do is start with those not urgent, not important things. Take them off that list, make a list of them, and put that list away in a drawer, because you're probably never going to do them, but you don't want to forget that this was something I wanted to do. So put it in a drawer. Next, I'm going to skip 3 for a minute, and I'm going to go to category 2, the important, not urgent. There are 2 things in this category. One of them is the things like planning, things like reading up on things that you want to stay current with. These are things that you could schedule weekly and actually say Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock, I'm going to do this, and at 4 o'clock, I'm going to do this, and have them regularly scheduled. And the other things are things that you definitely don't want to forget because they're important, but you could put them in your calendar for next week or for 2 weeks from now. And on that day, it will now be important and urgent, but it isn't now. It's important, but it's not urgent now. Now take that category of the weird stuff, the stuff that's urgent right now, but if I don't do it, nothing's going to happen. Nothing bad's going to happen. Take that and put that in your left-hand drawer of your desk. Take those 3s and get them off. So what you have left is a list of the important and urgent things. These are the things that we want to work on, and these have to be prioritized. And the best way that I know of prioritizing them is using the Ivy Lee method, and I want to explain to you where that comes from. In the early 1900s, the industrialist Charles Schwab, who I don't think is a relation to the Charles Schwab in the financial business nowadays, maybe, never looked that up. Charles Schwab ran a steel company, And he had a terrible problem where nothing was getting done. He started this project and this project and this project and wasn't getting any of them done. So he did something that was unheard of in his time, and that is to find a consultant, a time management consultant. And he found a man named Ivy Lee, who later on became a famous PR person, but at the time he was holding himself out as a business consultant, specifically in time management. And he said, Mr. Lee, I may need your help. And Lee followed him around for an entire day. And at the end of the day, he sat down with him and he said, Mr. Schwab, I see your problem and I have a solution for you. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to every day, either at the end of the day or at the beginning of a new day, write down of all the important things you have to do, write down the 6 most important things that you have to do. And then what I want you to do is prioritize them. This is the most important. This is the second most important, and so on. When you've done that, for the next month, I want you every day to focus only on number 1. And you're not to look at 2 through 6 until you've completed number 1 or you've taken it as far as you can take it. And then you can go to number 2, and you're not to look at 3 through 6 until you've completed number 2 or you've taken number 2 as far as you can take it. And he said, I'm so sure that this will work for you, that I will, in 30 days, if you stick to it, I will come back and you can pay me whatever you think my consultation was worth. And Schwab loved that challenge. So for 30 days, he did exactly what Ivy Lee said to do. And at the end of the 30 days, when Ivy Lee came back to his office, Schwab had written him a check for $25,000, which in our days is $200,000 for the 1 day and the advice. And he said, Mr. Lee, I accomplished more in this month than I have in any month of the last 2 years. And that was the system. Select the 6 most important, prioritize them 1 through 6. And instead of trying to do a little bit of each one of them as you go through all the other things you have to do in a day, every time you have time to work on a project, only work on the first. And when that's done, you can move to the second and only work on the second. And maybe the next day, what was number 2 is now number 4, and you're working on a different number 2. That doesn't matter. If you're doing it every day you are working on the most important thing that you have to work on. So that's how we prioritize. List everything that has to be done, divide the list into these 4 categories that we've talked about, isolate and ignore the not urgent, not important things, calendar everything you can in category 2, the things that are important but not urgent, separate out the urgent but not important and put them in a drawer, and finally prioritize the urgent and important things and use the 6 most important method to work on them. Now, some people say, well, you can do the 3 most important or the 4 most important. I don't care. You want to find a system that works for you. And I love when the gurus tell you this is the way to do it. If it doesn't work for you, you have to do something else. And I'm gathering that most of you are on this call because what you're doing right now may not be working for you so well. So number 4 is to say no to everything that doesn't get you directly to your goal. Warren Buffett says the difference between a successful person and a really successful person is that the really successful person says no to almost everything. So here's an example of what I mean. I have clients that talk with me and say, I'm part of this networking group. And I say, are you making any money in the networking group? And they say, well, the first year, I got 2 really good cases, but since then, not really. And I'll say, well, why do you continue working with the networking group? And they say, well, they're really nice people and they depend on me. And what I'll say to them is, look, if you're doing this because it's part of your social life, I have my fun getting up at 7 o'clock and getting to a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning to be with these people. Hey, then don't delude yourself into thinking you're doing it for business. But otherwise, if you're doing it for business and it isn't working, why aren't you saying no to it? I have clients that are working on something that they should say no to and hand it off to an assistant who they have. They have the assistant and they're not handing it off. You need to say no to things. People ask you to do things and you don't want to disappoint them, but there's a nice way of letting them down so that it doesn't interfere with you reaching your goal. And all of those things are distractions. Everything you say no to, everything you say yes to that you shouldn't say yes to is one more distraction in your life. You want more time, you want to be less distracted, start saying no to things. Number 5 is to schedule everything. And so what I do is I have a blank schedule, and you can see on the bottom there, it says you can ask me for it at sandywillhelp@gmail.com. And the first thing that you want to put in this schedule is the time you don't want to work, the time you want to be with your family, you want to exercise, you want to go to church, you want whatever it is, you want to put that time in. And so this hypothetical advisor doesn't want to start his Monday until noon, and he wants to work a little bit on Saturday, but then take the rest of the day off. So he's marked out all the time that he isn't going to be working. Now, if your entire schedule is dark blue, you're probably in the wrong business because you need to have work time. But here's a schedule that here's the hours I'm going to work, and they are sacred to me. When I'm working, and here's the hours that I'm going to be home with my family, having personal time, and that's sacred to me too. And so on the times that are in dark, I'm just not going to be working. Next on the schedule, you want to put in mandatory meetings. Maybe you have a team meeting or an office meeting that's mandatory. Maybe it's taking your kids to a therapist or going for marriage counseling or whatever. If there's a mandatory meeting or 2 or 3 in your life, put those on the schedule because those are things you absolutely have to do. Then pick your appointment times. Now, this particular hypothetical advisor is looking to keep 10 appointments a week. So, he's probably going to be pretty successful. And notice that the times are in fixed blocks. What a lot of us do, which is distracting and isn't efficient for us, is we allow the client to tell us what time is best for him. If I have 4 slots or 6 slots or 10 slots to fill, I want to book my clients, book my prospects in those spots. And if one isn't good for them, they've got a choice of 4 or 5 others. They can pick a different slot. Imagine if you called your doctor and the doctor said, well, come in at 5 today, at 4 today. And you said, well, 6 is really better for me. Do you think the doctor would say, oh, okay, come in at 6? We respect their time. And what you want to do is create in your clients and prospects a respect of your time. Now, these are appointment slots, and if you happen not to fill them, or if an appointment cancels, you're going to use them like you're going to use the white space. You're going to use them for administrative work and appointment prep and for marketing and planning and whatever else, rather than go home. Because if somebody cancels me in slot number 10, and I've got that open, and I go home, I'm violating the calendar. That was work time, and you want to stick to that as work time. And a lot of people fight this much structure, but the fact of the matter is the structure gives you more freedom than you have when you're all over the place and you don't know what you're doing. So I want to extend it into the white spaces now. and have you see that there's a time you do everything. So in this hypothetical situation, this advisor comes in on Monday at 12 o'clock and he does paperwork. And then he has a client lunch scheduled. And at 2 o'clock, he checks his email, not every day, not all day, but at a specific time. And I call this power blocking. The more you block your time, the better. When I'm in email review and return phone call time, that's what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else. When I'm in prepare for meetings time, I'm not taking phone calls and I'm not looking at my email, and I shut it off. And if you organize your day like this, and sure, there are emergencies that are going to come that might change it, but the reality is if you organize your day like this so that there's time blocks for everything, you're going to find that there's very little opportunity to be distracted, because this is what I'm doing now. I'm not taking emails. I'm not taking interruptions. I'm letting phone calls go to message. Now it's my email return phone call time. I'm not redoing reading. I'm not preparing for meetings. I'm going to be working at that time. And again, it seems like a lot of that organization is going to make the difference for you. You want to schedule everything. Now you have inflows of email and paper, and a very simple system that I learned a long time ago still works for me on my email. I have a folder for email that says read, and that is things I want to read later, articles that I want to read that it's not reading time now, it's looking at email time and answering email time. They're things to act on. Now, I keep them just in the inbox. These are the things I do have to act on now when it's acting time. They're things that you just want to file. And again, you can put them right into a particular folder to file. Especially when it's paper, you can put it in a folder called file. And when you get to some time to empty that folder and put it in the right places, that's when you do the filing. If it's paper and you have an assistant, just put it in the file folder, and here, this is for you to file. The delegate folder, here, this is for you to do. And an easy way to do that on your email is to just forward the email. And then there's the shred or trash folder. Get rid of the things that aren't important. You can look through your mail in an instant, figure out what you don't have to read, you don't have to look at. It's marketing, advertising, you don't want it, throw it away, and then the others go into one of those categories. And you can do with the same with your emails. Phone calls are a little more complicated, but an easy system for paper and email is to use these 5 folders. So you're going to get interruptions. If you don't have an assistant, the phone's going to ring, and you may be saying, I have to answer that because it might be Joe. And even though it's not answering phone time, I have to do it. And so what you need when you do have a staff, though, is a very clear system for dealing with interruptions. And that is, you want to have closed door time. I talk with managing agents all the time. Well, I leave my door open because the agents come in and they, have questions. Well, that's fine for a part of the day that you've power blocked for that purpose. But the rest of the time, close your door. Instruct your team that when the door's closed, you're not to be interrupted. Shut off your email notifications. Have rules about being interrupted. My favorite rule is it's got to be an emergency. Somebody has to be bleeding, or there's a regulator at the door, or there's a client who's come in and demanded his file and his money. And those are the things that are emergencies. And if it's not one of those, make sure everybody knows that you're not to be interrupted. Now, if you are interrupted, because it's going to happen, you have 3 options. The first is to accept the interruption and stop doing what you're doing and deal with that interruption. And that's the least effective of them. The second is to say, hey, you know what? John is in the office and he can handle this for you. Let me just buzz him and send you to John. And the third thing is you can say, look, I generally return all the phone calls and make phone calls like that at 3 o'clock. How about if I get back to you at 3 o'clock? I'm in the middle of something now. And you need to do this, and you need to not worry that they're going to be mad, because your mental health and the effectiveness of your business depends on that. 8 is, as long as we're talking about delegating to someone else, delegate everything. Delegate anything you can that you don't like to do, anything you can that you can legally give to somebody else to do, anything you can that's really $25 an hour work instead, or $15 an hour work rather than $100, $200, $500 an hour work. Get it off your plate. And I have advisors, agents, producers tell me, I give Joan so much, I really feel guilty to asking her to do more. The reality of that is that Joan probably wants you to give her more. And if you have a conversation with her about, tell me when it's too much, tell me when you can't do it anymore, tell me if you need help prioritizing it, they want to take ownership of it. And just like you wanted to take ownership of this business that you're in. Another thing advisors say to me is, well, I'm the only one who can do this. Nobody can do it as well as I can. And the reality there is, if you train somebody to do it, they might do it better than you. And so that's just an excuse for why you're not delegating. Another thing they say to me, well, it's easier for me to do than it is to train someone else. I can do it in 2 minutes, and I'd have to spend a half hour training them on it. Well, the training time is upfront time. Once you do it, you have a long back end where they can do it for you, and you don't have to do it anymore. So take the time to teach them and then let them do it. And finally, another thing that people say to me is, it only takes a minute, so it's not worth giving to someone else. I could just do this myself. Well, if you look at 15 minutes a day of doing that, it only takes a minute, I'll do it myself. When you add that time up at the end of the year, assuming a 40-hour week, there's 1.5 weeks of work that you did instead of giving it to someone else. What could you do to help you focus and to help you make more money and help you be less distracted if you had that 1.5 weeks per year back? But the biggest reason people give me for not delegating is, oh my gosh, I delegated once and it was a disaster. Whenever anybody says that to me, it's because they dumped, they abdicated, they didn't really delegate. If you're going to delegate, you want to be clear about what you're asking for, the details, what the priorities are, how to fit this into his or her schedule, reporting, how you want to hear about it, how you want the completed work returned to you. What do they need from you? Ask them, is there anything you need from me? And then give them latitude on how the job is to be completed. So what happens is, you want to give it to them. You want to trust them with it and believe they're going to do a good job, because if you don't, then it isn't going to work. But you want to make sure, so you put in your calendar, check with John to see if this is done, and check with him. Don't dump, delegate. Number 9, underpromise and overdeliver. Here's what happens. A client says to you on Wednesday, I need this paperwork by Friday. And you look at your schedule and there's so many things to do and you're so overwhelmed, there's no way you can deliver it by Friday. But you don't want to disappoint the client. So you say, well, I'll do my best to have it to you by Friday. And sure enough, Friday at 5 o'clock, you say, oh no, I wasn't able to get to that. And you get it to them on Monday. So now they got it on Monday when they wanted it on Friday for the weekend, and they're disappointed. And your client, the last thing that's happened, the last transaction you've had with the client is a disappointing one. So let's roll back and do under-promising and over-delivering instead of what that was, which was over-promising and under-delivering. You under-promise. They want it by this weekend. You say, look, I'm looking at my schedule. There's no way I can even touch this until next week, and I can have it for you by Wednesday. and they're disappointed. But, that's their option. So they go home and you start to work on it on Monday, and you finish it on Monday and deliver it on Monday. Now, both times it got delivered on Monday, but now they're delighted because you told them Wednesday. And we do that with time. We do that with cost. We do that with a lot of things in our business. Stop over promising to make them feel good up front and make them feel good in the end by over delivering. And that will help make you much less distracted and stressed. Number 10 is have systems for everything. I told you there were 9 systems. You want to have a prospecting system and a referral system. You want to have a system to onboard new clients, what happens from even the first phone call to when they're actually a new client and how you bring them on as a new client. You want to have a system for handling paperwork, of course, client service, reviews and updates, client appreciation, all office procedures, anything having to do with people who are working for you in the office. And if you're FINRA licensed, that's the 9th one, a system for trades and transfers. You want to get who's ever responsible for doing things to write them down and incorporate them into a procedures book for your office, so that anybody who works for you in that capacity can see what the job entails. Now, most of us have some systems. The problem for us that's distracting and wastes time is that we don't have all of these systems in place. And if I can help somebody do that, to me, that's great. We get a system for everything that's going on in the office. If everything is working on a system, you don't have a lot of distractions. Things come in and they go where they're supposed to go, and things get done with them that are supposed to be done. I worked with one client who was giving quotes, and he was getting the information from the insurance company to give quotes, and he had an assistant who could easily do that. And so we changed his system so the assistant brings him 3 or 4 quotes according to his criteria, and he just takes a minute to look, and he asks her, which one would you recommend, so that she can learn. And then he says, okay, that's great, go with it. And that's what the client gets. And we saved him tons of time and tons of distraction. And those are the kinds of things you can do for yourself. So that brings us to number 11. And since I'm talking about assistants, let's talk about the assistant. I hear from advisors every day, I can't afford an assistant. And what I want to say to them is, you can't afford not to have an assistant. Imagine you open a convenience store and you're going to be open 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you decide not to hire help. So when the truck comes in, you're unloading the truck and you're labeling things and you're putting them on the shelves and you're running to the front to make sure you check people out, and you're running to the lottery machine to give people what they want in the lottery machine, and you're out on the floor helping people find things. You're doing all of that, and you'll do that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you'll collapse, and that'll be the end of your business. Well, our businesses are really no different. If you're doing everything yourself and you're drowning in paperwork and not out doing the things that you need to be doing, which is really simple. I want to be in front of people, talking to people. That's what my job is. And everything else can pretty much be done by someone else. If you're doing all that other stuff, you're looking things up and you're preparing the paperwork and so, preparing the illustrations and whatever, you're doing the wrong thing. And you need to look at getting an assistant as an investment, just like the convenience store owner needs to know that I'm investing in help so that I can grow my business. And 5 hours, 10 hours a week, if you find somebody and put in the time to train them, take some of that paperwork off you, take some of that stress off of you. And all you have to do is promise yourself that the money that's costing you will be made up by one case, two cases. Once you've got business coming in, you don't worry about the cost of the assistant because it's an investment in your future. If you have other kinds of team members in your office, use them. If you're captive and you have a home office, use them. If you have wholesalers that can help you, use them. If you want to grow your business and have it grow smoothly, hire a coach. It doesn't have to be me, but a coach is going to help you grow. Just like the coach for any sports player helps them improve their game, even though they're already good at the game. And finally, if there's someone who's been in the business longer than you and is really successful, and he's willing to mentor you from time to time, take advantage of that. Most of us think that we have to do this alone, and doing it alone is the least effective way to do it. So those are the 11 that will help you be less distracted, more focused, have more time to focus. Now I want to talk to you. I promised you we would do that. I also want to talk to you about how you and I can just talk together about your business very specifically. Because at this point, you have three options. The first option is, nice seminar, got this far, not going to do anything. There's no risk involved. You don't have to have faith in anything. And you'll probably get the same results you've been getting with little or no change. And if that's okay, leave it at that. The second option is to take something you got out of this webinar and do something with it. Make sure that you bring one thing into your business at a time, one change at a time. Because if you try and change everything, in 2 weeks, it'll be like you won't have changed anything. And the third option is invest an hour of your time in seeing what's possible in your business by scheduling a personal breakthrough session with me. If you're willing to change and to create something out of where you are now, I'm willing to talk with you. You need a breakthrough session. There's no cost to do it. All you have to do is contact me at sandychasell.com/whatif. Put the dash in the what if, make sure you write it down right, and get on my calendar, and we'll have a conversation about how you can personally grow your particular business. And I don't care what kind it is. I've worked with just about every kind there is. And it's an hour, and I'm giving away the hour. And people say, well, why are you giving away an hour? Is this some kind of ploy? You're going to try to sell me something? No, I've got very limited availability. So I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. There are going to be no sales, just help. Now, if you find our conversation helpful and you want me to continue to help you, and we both think it's a good fit, I may invite you to join one of my programs, but the catch is you're going to have to ask me. You're going to have to say, how do we do this? Or what would it look like? And some people say, well, I feel guilty. I don't want to take up your time because I have no intention of being coached. I don't care if you do or you don't. It's never a waste of my time because I learn problems that you have that I can now identify in people who do want to be clients. So it's never a waste of time. Also, you may want to come back. You may want to refer someone, and some of my best referrals have come from people who did not hire me. Here's a rule that I have, though, and that is, you have to be 100% committed to your own success. The way this woman is 100% committed to her own success, to reach whatever income or goals you have. If it's something you'd like to do, but I want to do it, but if I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. Don't bother calling me because there's not going to be much I can really help you with. If it's something I absolutely want to do, I choose to do this, I want to change, I want to grow, then by all means contact me and use that link, sandychasell.com, what if, to schedule time with me. It's not about selling you anything. It's about another way that I might be able to help you. Here's an example. The first Kevin here, who may even be on this call, met with me 10 years ago. We had one session. He wrote me this testimonial because that one session helped him so much. He did not ask me to talk to him about a coaching program. He was satisfied with that one session. I did not bring up a coaching program, and that's the way it went. The other Kevin had the same thing. He brought it up and said, what would it look like? We had a conversation. We worked for a year and a half, and he wrote this at the end of the year and a half. It's totally up to you whether you want to work with me more than that one session, but I want to give you that one. Now, if we do decide to work together, I focus on 5 areas generally: what you're trying to accomplish, the goals, what the strategies are to reach those goals. A big one is what is in your thinking that's keeping you from getting there, and we work a lot on your mindset. Then if you don't know how to do things, I was a sales trainer. I've got 20 years of experience helping producers and advisors get what they want. We can add to your skill set, and I'm happy to help you with those things. And one of them is getting rid of those things that suck the life out of you by taking a look at your environment. I call that energy, getting rid of the energy suckers and finding things that energize you, get you want to get up in the morning and go do your work. So this link could change your future. I call it a breakthrough for a very good reason. I've been doing these calls with people, and they do have breakthroughs. They do see the world differently. That's what I want to do for you. That's the link. Be 100% committed to doing what it takes to grow your business, or it will be a waste of time. And grab one of the time slots that I've made available during the next 2 weeks, because I want to help you if you want the help and if you're willing to open up. All right, let's talk about takeaways and questions. And it looks like we don't have many questions. Some very nice comments. Thank you for those comments. I'm glad that I was able to help you. Do take me up on the offer to talk. And with that, I'm going to say thank you all for attending this program. Very happy to talk with you today. And again, if I can send you those documents, or you want to just reach out to me, use that address, then you don't have to worry about the spelling of my name. And if you do want to set up a time to talk with me, use sandychazelle.com /what-if, and I'm looking forward to talking with you if that's something that you want to do. Thank you, everybody.